Fear not, darling. Papa is here to save you.
Hey! Ah! I need that! Hey! Give that back! Give that back! Recently, I've been seeing this YN and CO trend all over, and I assume a lot of you probably have as well. Given that it combines like writing / fanfics, comics, art, I gotta hop in. I gotta get my hands dirty, okay? I gotta start farting at a... What? Anyways, today we're talking about the YN and CEO trend. To understand this trend, you kind of need a little bit of context. In fanfic culture, there's different variations of these. You know, some are constantly glazing the character. Others will like purposefully give like no description or as little description as possible for the character. But the general premise is that the reader or the writer imagine themselves to be in the story. From that goal of self-insertion, you get things like YN. YN just stands for your name. So whenever you see that parentheses, Y/N parentheses, the reader inserts their name. Shifting your focus back to the trend, there's two main ways the background we've discussed manifests. And the first,
Traits.
Frequently idolized in these YN type stories are exaggerated to a ridiculous degree for the purpose of comedy. This could mean mega titties, mega shoulders, like a super deep and sultry voice, etc. The second type satirizes the romanticized mean except to her trope, where the male lead is a stone cold guy, except when it comes to the female lead. He'll be overprotective and prioritizes her well-being to the highest degree. So basically, he'll ruin the lives of others if it means tending to her smallest inconvenience or discomfort. Now, while all the examples I've shown are videos of people, this trend originates from the art community. And as far as I can tell, the origin of modern day artistic depictions of YN can be traced to two people, weeweepiss, diabolical name by the way, and erykistired.
If you want some more epic stuff videos, remember to hit that subscribe button.
Gray one with giant eyes, basically Minecraft skeleton build, comes from weeweepiss. They've been on the YN grind for a long time, and their stuff is usually anime, if not like Attack on Titan related.
Can't capture YN's beauty. YN!
While I used to see this version of YN more in the past, you know, it still holds up to this day. It's still relevant, and not to fear, there's still art theft. Funnily enough, weeweepiss has also participated in the recent YN resurgence trend that we're talking about. And the now overly beautiful YN with a super hourglass figure and big eyes with long lashes, you know, the star of today's show, comes from erykistired. To clarify, not every YN and CEO video is copying their work, or weeweepisses. Clearly not, but so many of them are derived from erykistired's art in one way or another that it's not a stretch to say that they're at the core of the trend. So, like I was saying, this YN resurgence has been brought on by erykistired. In the last few months, they've been publishing and advertising a new comic, Plot Armor On. And this is a parody of YN and CO, like basically what the trend is about in comic form. And from what I'm seeing too, there is going to be like a more like actual plot element to it. It's just using comedy as a starting point and flipping your expectation. By the way, for any uncle heads out there, I will be making a video on this comic. It's in the works. It's coming. I'm going to make a video of the comic. Anyways, yep. So to promote their new comic, they've been posting stuff like this. And, you know, given that they have a large following and that these images are, you know, very eye-catching, it's not that surprising that they've, you know, kind of blown up. So the trend itself isn't the issue. The issue is more when people are a little bit more than inspired. For example, all right, so I'm editing. I was on Instagram. I just made a post earlier today, and I checked stories real quick. And I saw something I couldn't ignore, okay? I just cannot put this in, bro. It had me rolling. Reminder, the art on Pinterest comes from somewhere. Someone made it, okay? That's it. I just had to show you this. Since art trends rarely go this viral beyond the art community, I'd like to take this opportunity to discuss art theft. Now, I know this probably isn't what you're here for, but I promise it won't be as boring as it sounds. You're already this far in the video. Please don't go. On a more serious note, I just think it's useful when having these discussions to all agree on certain terms, you know, lay a foundation, but also it's just a good learning moment because, as I've stated, it's not that often that things go viral. If someone actually has this handle, it's not them. Obviously, I just made this up for the sake of this. And also, no artists were harmed in the making of this video. This is all my art. Let's say someone posts their art, made a new piece, posting it. Someone takes it and goes, hey, look at this art that I totally drew. Usually, it's less obvious than that, but suspending disbelief for the sake of this discussion again. They repost the same exact thing, no modifications, they just claim it's theirs. Most people agree, not good. We don't like this, and it is theft. Don't do it. Now, there's another level of this, if you will, where you maybe steal someone's liner and color it and then post it as your own. You're still taking the liner. If I steal someone's car and put decals on it, it's still a stolen car. Still not good, still theft. While most people agree that's theft, that's bad, there are some instances that maybe are a little bit more nuanced where there's less agreement. People are like, oh, it's not theft. And while maybe it doesn't fully fit under the definition of typical theft, it does fall under plagiarism. So what's the difference? Theft is taking something that's not yours without permission. Plagiarism is taking people's work or ideas and passing them off as your own. Maybe overtly by saying this is my art and arguing that, maybe just by not giving credit. By omission, you are still, plagiarizing, which is why you can't get away with not citing things in an academic paper. You have to give citations, Wikipedia, whatever, to be like, this is someone else's idea, or this is a well-researched thing, just to prove you didn't pull it out of your ass. Let's move on. This falls under plagiarism, because obviously you're taking other people's work and passing it off as your own. That's pretty simple. But plagiarism can kind of be broader than theft, as you can also have traced or copied art. Some people might make the argument of, oh, well, yes, I traced it, but I removed the original work and now all that's left is my own. But the thing is, again, you're stealing people's efforts, their work, their ideas, without giving them credit. You're passing them off as your own. You put it over, it's a one-to-one, right? You can see the arm. I got a little lazy with the tracing, and this is a screenshot of a screenshot of a screenshot, low quality, and copied, as you can see, it's not a one-to-one. You can substitute one for the other, right? If, for example, I had a storybook with one, I could replace the other and it would fulfill the same purpose. You might be like, hey, this plagiarism thing, doesn't it happen all the time? People in the art community, they get inspired from others, they will reference things. Where does that fit in? Let's start with inspiration. Inspiration is a little bit more vague. It's not really tangible. It's a diving board. You start off at a similar place or at a same place and you add and grow and diverge so that the end product is different and you cannot substitute it. They are not the same. You don't get the same thing from both. I'll give you an example to make it make more sense. If I see this butterfly and I'm like, oh, I want to draw fairies. They're very different. I can't replace this picture of the butterfly with the fairies. Just like how I can't replace the fairies with a picture of the butterfly. They're separate and distinct enough that they stand on their own. That's fully fine. That's just inspiration, happens all the time. They are very separate, they're very distinct, they're very different. We can also have the same thing with art, right? It doesn't have to be photography. When I say art, I mean more like illustrations. It can be someone looks at this and goes, oh, I want to draw a moth lady, and draws a moth lady who's in a different pose, looks completely different, all that stuff. That is fully fine too, right? You cannot substitute one for the other. If I get inspired from a butterfly and then the person off of me gets inspired and makes a moth drawing, which I'm aware is bad. I just did an MS Paint for in two seconds, so with my mouse. So just don't worry about that. It's just for the point, okay? This is all well and good, happens all the time, no issues, because the end product is distinct. Where do studies land then? Because studies sometimes recreate things. They kind of copy things. Some people argue you shouldn't post them. Some say it's fine. General rule of thumb, if you do post it, give credit. Just give credit. If you're not sure, give credit. There's also an argument of people saying, oh, well, it's not worthwhile to study art because you just pick up mistakes from other people's art. Again, that's not what we're talking about. References is kind of often basing yourself. Again, it's like a starting board, but more concrete. You can kind of pinpoint exactly. It's less of, inspiration is kind of more capturing a vibe. You see that and it sparks an idea. Whereas reference is more like, oh, I don't know how to do this, or I like the way they did this. Let me base myself off of this. Not copy, but an interpretation of the original So an example for what I mean for reference for anyone who doesn't draw, because you may be like, what the hell? Don't worry, I got you. I made this drawing 3 years ago. I was really pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So I was using a lot of references. I still have a fair amount of them. I don't have all of them. Like I used one for the perspective of the shoe. I took a picture of my foot in a shoe, but I don't have that anymore. So sorry guys, no foot pic. For example, these are a bunch of pictures that I referenced to make this. For the vibe, the background, the colors, I was inspired by ATEEZ's bouncy music videos. You could see the colors, the like greeny, even the hat, the multiple hats in fact, the like explosion, the like bright orangey yellow tones. For the hand, excuse this badly cropped picture of me, you could see I referenced cards to draw my own card pattern. Same with how the hand should look, holding the cards, all of that stuff. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Again, notice how these are very different. The face does not look like that, but for the lighting, I was inspired by this. Same with the shirt. The shirt is very different. I didn't draw the pin. I added these suspenders. The pants are high-waisted. There's a tie. You can see how all of these parts come together to make this one drawing. So now we could talk about what you're probably here for. This YN situation. Again, erykistired is one of the like YN OGs. Recently, they've been posting about how a lot of their art has been stolen. A lot of it from their comic and all of that, but a fair amount also just from their videos. For example, this one. Look at how not only the ideas are somewhat similar. You could say if it was only the idea, it was inspired, but that combined with the hair matching up almost exactly, the face shape being extremely similar, the pose, this YN having hair in the background that's shaded, with the strand here, you know, it's clearly a little bit more than inspired. You can substitute one of these for the other. Again, they said traced, but they have specified that English is not their first language and the terminology they use might not be the exact same one, but more or less, they just mean that their art was plagiarized. Now this one is a little less identical. You know, the wrinkles on the clothes are maybe not the same. Some of it is not, you know, some of the wrinkles are not there. The lighting is maybe not exactly the same, but it's at the very least very heavily inspired. A little too heavily inspired. You know, like this one I would assume is traced and then they just colored it in themselves separately, but you could see the hair lines up a little too perfectly, right? So maybe they did a sketch and then they copied on top. But either way, the specifics can be debated. The general idea is that this is plagiarized. Like, I'm not here to dog on the person. I'm just here to like discuss this situation because I think it's interesting, and it's interesting to discuss what's a trend versus plagiarism, right? There's a lot of people we've seen. I opened the video with multiple other YN CEO videos, and none of them were copies of Eric's work. Maybe they were inspired, or maybe they were simply following a trend which was inspired by Eric's work. That's the thing with inspiration. You can have suspicions, but you can never really tell if something is from a certain thing unless the person specified. But with this, it is blatant, right? If I saw one, I'd be like, oh, I feel like I've seen this before if I saw the other. This one, I don't think it was traced, but it was copied because you could tell the subject is the same. They're very, very similar. There's some liberties taken, like there's one eyelash instead of two. The hair spike is not quite as strong. They used a flat pen instead of maybe like the pencil. Again, debating the specifics is not necessarily important to our discussion. When things get really popular, sometimes they kind of become part of like the public domain, quote unquote. It's just when your art is being blatantly plagiarized, your ideas are being plagiarized, it's not great. And you would like credit a lot of times, right? Especially when these creators are relatively popular, but sometimes this happens to a smaller creator. The ideas get lost in the sauce and videos about them become more popular than the creator of them, which is not quite fair. You would think if their work is liked by the people that they get to, you know, reap the rewards of that. Let me know what you thought about this yapping video, and I still don't know how to end videos, so see ya.